Hey Tarot friends, it's Dustin from Modern Metaphysicae, and today I thought we could hang out and take a trip through the Medieval Europe Tarot by Vladymyr Strannykov. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. If not, I am so sorry. This deck I have been super in love with for the past couple weeks, and I'm really excited to share it with you guys. As always, down in the description box below, you'll find a link to where you can learn more about this deck and pick it up, as well as links to all of my social media where you can reach out, connect, and a link to my personal website where you can book a reading with me or purchase some of my handmade metaphysical goods. So be sure to check all of that out at the end of the video. Oh, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It really helps the channel out, and I really appreciate it. So the Medieval Europe Tarot was a deck that I backed on Kickstarter, and I have to say that this one was a challenge getting to me. The deck shipped right around the start of the pandemic, and unfortunately it just got lost in the mail. And I have to give a super big shout out and thank you to the creator and the company that produced this, Deluxe Manufacturer, because they were so nice. Their customer service was really quick and responsive, and they sent me a new deck right away. They were amazing, and they will definitely be a company that I keep an eye on and support in the future, because the experience of their customer service was it was exactly what it should be, and A+ to that. So thank you so much for that. Now, this deck comes in what you can see is a tuck box, which normally I'm not super all about, but this is a really nice, well-produced tuck box. It has gold foil stamping. It's printed on that like nice rose petal finish, which is really nice. The back says it's a collection of medieval and Renaissance manuscripts, represents a significant resource for the study of literature, art, history, music, philosophy, and theology in the Middle Ages and the Renaissance in Western Europe. This is a set of artifacts that includes poems, musical scores, books, and religious texts. On many occasions, these artifacts carry illustrations of commendable beauty, which provide an insight into various important aspects of everyday culture in the medieval and Renaissance eras. It's almost impossible for the passionate tarot lover to miss the intriguing correlation of particular manuscripts with a vastly rich spectrum of significations ingrained in the tarot universe. The Medieval Europe Tarot by Vladymyr Strannykov is an 86-card tarot deck whose captivating illustrations derive from a collection of original drawings. It is truly bringing together these two appealing worlds, which, if you know me and you know my channel, this is like right up my alley and my aesthetic. I love medieval and Renaissance art, and I also have a very deep passion for calligraphy and for manuscript art. I think manuscript art is one of the most underappreciated arts in the history of all art, and it's just fantastic. And what this creator has done, which you'll see when we get to the flip through, is kind of collage together imagery found in different medieval and Renaissance manuscripts, and it's so well done. But before we get into that, like I said, this is a really nice tuck box. It's pretty sturdy. If it has to be a tuck box, I guess this is the kind of tuck box I'll be okay with. That being said, inside the box you'll find the deck, and you'll also find this amazing little white book, which is not really little and it's not really white, but it's so fantastic. It fits right inside the box, and it's a little hardbound book, which is like crushed velvet on the outside, which I really love. and it's gold embossed. It feels like a really nice little vintage book. It even has a little tiny sort of bookmark. And inside there's some really great end papers, which are from manuscripts, which is great. There's a little introduction about the deck, and there's some more examples of manuscript art, and then there's pages and pages and pages on each of the cards and the divinatory meanings and things like that, which is great. Every card basically gets a full sepia toned black and white image of the card, and then a page with all of the information on it. And then in the back there's some more manuscript examples. This has some songs, which I think is really, really cool. More different manuscript art. It's just absolutely stunning and beautiful. And it has a little contents in the back, which is interesting. And it's in the back. But yeah, it's a really cool little book. I was so amazed that they decided to go this route. I think it's just fantastic. I love it. So there's that. Now, the cards themselves. The card backs are amazing. They feature this sort of swirly paper design. Now, they're not reversible, so if that's super important to you, probably not something you're going to be in love with. But the back features this zodiacal wheel, which I think is just absolutely stunning and beautiful. The deck is gilt, so it's gilded in this like lovely vintagey sort of gold gilding, which is wearing really nicely. You can see there's a couple of scuffs and things like that from me using it, but overall it's been really fantastic. In terms of card size, they are slightly larger than a normal standard tarot size. So you can see it's slightly wider and slightly taller. The card stock itself is amazing. This may be my new favorite cardstock. It feels really thick in hand, but it's still very flexible, which I really like. It's a really nice matte finish that kind of gives it a little bit of a semi-gloss feel, but it's perfect. It gives, the way that this deck is finished, it gives the contrast that you get from a gloss finish, but it's not glossy and it's not slippery, which I really love. So this cardstock is amazing. Now, for the artwork itself, so here we have the title card, and you can kind of start to get a sense of what the artwork in the deck is like. We'll do our usual flip through so that you guys can check the deck out on your own and form your own opinions, and then we'll come back and we'll have a little chat, talk about some of the cards that I really enjoy, why I enjoy them, and maybe some things that I don't enjoy. And yeah, so this is the Medieval Europe Tarot. So that is the Medieval Europe Tarot. This deck I have not been able to put down. I keep shuffling it and reading with it. It's just absolutely stunning and beautiful, and just does an incredibly good job of taking imagery from the medieval and Renaissance periods, specifically manuscript art, and making a tarot out of it. The creator did such a wonderful job of unifying the artwork that they found and bringing it all together into cohesive compositions that really allow themselves to speak to the story that we find within the tarot. They did such a fantastic job of including really deep and meaningful symbols. Obviously, there's a lot of Christian iconography and things like that, having, being sourced from medieval and Renaissance period artwork. You're going to find a lot of that. And, that's true of a lot of more historical tarot decks anyways, right? Because obviously the tarot has a very deep-seated root in Christian traditions, just by way of when it evolved and came about historically. And I think the creator of this deck did a really good job of paying homage to that. The cards are beautiful. I love the simple gray background that you find in a lot of the cards. I think each of the suits does a really good job of representing what we traditionally know in the tarot. The minors do definitely follow more of a traditional RWS system. I'm sure a lot of you probably noticed as well in the majors that there were a few extra cards. And those include this protection card, which I thought was beautiful, as well as a zodiac card, which I really love the inclusion of this card. There is a lot of association and correlations between the tarot as well as astrology. So having, this be in the deck, I think is fantastic. Of course, there are astrological cards within the deck, so the planets, the major planets of that period, right? Planets like Chiron and Pluto are very much more modern constructs. These were the planets that astrologers were more aware of because they're planets that you can see more or less with the naked eye in the night sky. So things like Saturn and Venus, etc. The majors are absolutely stunning and beautiful. They obviously lean more towards a Marseille tradition, which is fantastic. I really enjoy it, but the imagery and the iconography and the choices in each of these cards and the way they were photo manipulated together and edited and curated is just masterful. They really took a lot of time in putting this together and paying attention to details and what into each card, right? The sun card, we have the astrological sign for the sun. There's all of these tiny little details that the more you look at these cards, the more they become apparent, right? The star. And here you have almost like a little nod to the high priestess of this face coming out behind the moon, right? Which I always thought was interesting. I'm fairly certain this has some alchemical significance, although I haven't had time to research it all that much. The Devil card is fantastic. It's a traditional depiction of a hellmouth, and it's interesting because within the hellmouth is the Garden of Eden, and it's Adam and Eve. So it's just this really interesting play on ideas and concepts that they've created here. Temperance is this beautiful angel. The Death card in this deck is just stunning. When I saw this card, it took my breath away. It almost seems very Bosch-like, and I think that's maybe some of what really appeals to me. But it's just every card there's just layer and layer and layer of symbolism and meaning, right? The Hanged Man here. There's so much going on in this card that you can spend hours researching each of the individual little elements that we see here. Obviously, strength is numbered 11 in this deck, and vice versa, justice is 8. And then, of course, there are two different chariot cards. Both of these are really wonderful and just give you kind of different ways of interpreting the card. There are some very different historical interpretations of the Chariot card, and I thought it was really interesting that this was the card that the creator chose to offer alternative art on. One of my absolute most favorite cards in this deck, though, is the Mage, or the Magician, traditionally. And here we have an alchemist, right, with his alembic and producing, you know, all of this alchemical magic, you know. And it's perfect in the context of this deck, and what they've created out of the existing artwork is just magnificent. So if you haven't checked this deck out yet, I would highly encourage you to do so, because I'm in love with it. I've been picking it up. It's been giving me fantastic readings. All of the extra symbols and things like that really lend themselves well to intuitive hits and sparks of inspiration while you're conducting your reading. The cards look beautifully laid out. It's just a really fantastic deck, especially if you love historical Renaissance medieval art and things like that. I would definitely check this out. I hope you enjoyed this walkthrough and review. If you have any questions or want to let me know what you think about this deck, please do so in the comments below. I would love to hear what you think of this deck, or if you have it, let me know how much you love it or don't love it. That's okay too. And yeah, always remember that everyone is fighting a battle that you know nothing about. So be kind always. Bye, everybody.